And welcome back for the third part of the Talk Oxford for tonight. And the subject we're going to talk about now, one of my favourites, certainly is wine. I drink too much of it, but nevertheless, that's no great problem. My guests probably feel exactly the same. So I know, Brian, you don't like to call yourself a connoisseur, but you're certainly
Absolutely
a very enthusiastic amateur, aren't you?
I call myself a connoisseur before I call myself an expert. Like you, I try very hard not to drink too much of it, but I do enjoy wine. I think I can remember going down to the south of France and visiting several of the vineyards in the Languedoc, and my friend and I came to one beautiful winery one morning, Saturday morning, fairly early, and over the door it said, "A day without wine is like a day without sunshine." And we both looked at it and said, "You're dead right there." I find wine a pleasant experience, not only to drink, but to consume with food. My wife and I, our most favourite Saturday afternoon is a variety of cheeses, and a bottle of really good red wine, or when I say really good, I mean as much as we can afford. And that, to us, is bliss. And not because we fall off the chair afterwards. On the contrary, it's an experience. And wine is a great digestive. It really does aid digestion and the food that you're consuming.
You convinced me, Brian.
You didn't take much convincing.
Helen, what about you? What do you think about when you think wine? Do you drink a lot of it?
I do drink a fair amount of wine, it's certainly true. And I do believe that food and wine are the most fantastic companions. I don't think they should be separated. So if somebody says, "Oh, I'm on the wagon," and I couldn't imagine having food without wine to accompany it, whether it's fish with white wine or something much more sort of gutsy with a red wine. It's just a wonderful part of life.
Thoroughly agree. Yeah. Recently, the two of the magazines which deal with wine, Decanter and IWC, which stands for, I gather, International Wine Challenge. They've both issued their latest set of recommendations. The fact that they have many people put forward their latest wine and judges come along and check them. The problem in a way is there's something like 30,000 wines that are put forward for this, and something like 70% of those, that's what, over 20,000 of them, get some kind of commendation. Can that be right? How can so many wines be that good?
Well, wine consumption in the UK is growing, not in any worrying amount, but it's growing as people become more accustomed to drinking wine, buying it, drinking it and enjoying it. Having said that, there is still an awful lot of people walking up and down the aisles of supermarkets and smaller wine retailers, not knowing really what to buy, mainly because they're not that interested in the wine. They're just interested in having a glass or two of it with a meal. So they're easily led as far as seeing a medallion on the side of the bottle or a sticker saying, gold winner at whatever. And my view is that because so many of them receive some sort of commendation, the commendation is diluted, surely. And I also think that people should be encouraged to try other wines from smaller wine-producing countries other than Australasia, other than California, and other than France, of course, because there are lots and lots of really good wines out there, but always be led, I'm afraid to say, always be led by price. If you're going to buy a bottle of wine for £3.99, then when you take into account how much of that goes to the exchequer, you're left with a bit of wine, drop of wine, that's probably cost little more than £1.50 to get on the shelf. So what are you going to get for £1.50?
Helen, what makes you choose a wine when you're looking through the supermarket shelves?
Well, I'd say that one of the things is that people, as Brian was saying, they tend to be, they're easily led, and and also people get onto a favourite wine and they just stick to that, whereas they should really experiment.
Oh, I quite agree.
And I think that having these commended sort of stickers on the bottles actually helps from that point of view, because people think, oh, I'll try that because it's somebody's commended it, somebody who knows more than I do about wine. I think it really helps. And you're talking about the smaller wine makers as well. I had an experience where I did take part in a wine tasting with Tunisian wines, which I'd never heard of before.
Most people haven't.
No, and they weren't really on sale to any great degree in the UK. And one of the wines we were tasting, which was a Tunisian wine, had got a silver medal on it with a silver sticker from a Paris wine competition. So everybody took note of that one, and in fact that one had made more inroads into the UK market because of that. So I do think that these commendations do have a role to play.
Well, it's interesting.
Well, it's the number of them, isn't it? Just,
well, there are, and if so many of them are being recommended in some way. I think usually they have a sort of a commended level, and then a bronze and silver and gold. And if you get to the silver and gold, it's apparently only about 3% of all of those wines that are judged which actually get into the gold category. So by then you'd begin to perhaps take a reasonable amount of notice of what it. But don't you think that what matters at the end of the day is, I know I like that wine. You've got to try them, yes, but
couldn't agree more.
It's got to be what you like rather than
and what's wrong with buying a bottle of wine and you drink it and you think, I don't like that. Well, don't buy it again. You know, I mean, I personally, I can't drink too much white wine without getting heartburn. You know, it's an age thing. But I can drink Sauvignon Blanc. So I drink Sauvignon Blanc as my favourite white wine, and it tends to cover most levels, so I can eat most things by drinking, if I'm drinking a white wine, Sauvignon Blanc.
Well, I go for red wine particularly because red is just it hasn't got that acidity, that sharpness about it. It's very rounded, and it's a very good companion, as I was saying, to food. Also, there are medical benefits, as we are told, and they've been saying that for a lot of years now. That actually, they say a glass of red wine a day actually benefits your blood. And helps the red blood corpuscles or something.
Not
like
a lot,
that.
though, one glass, is it?
No.
No, you can never stop at one. That's the trouble, isn't it? At least that's mine. I have to say, whilst trying lots and lots of wines, perhaps on holiday and so on, but I am a Sauvignon Blanc person. More than that, I'm a New Zealand Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc. It becomes quite boring. The only saving grace is that there are so many of them out there, all with pretty weird names, it seems to me. My favourite was called Tin Pot Hut. Where did they find the names? I don't really know. But nevertheless. So do you think these competitions are just a sort of a way of trying to commercialise all of this? The actual publications themselves make a lot of money out of them. They make something like over £1 million just from the registration fees, and to get those little labels which says highly commended. They cost apparently about 4p each for the wine grower, and that could mean millions of pounds when you take all the wine that's sold, each with one of these labels.
Well, I think that it's surely commercial, without a doubt, and the fees, the fee income from the entries that the winemakers do, they benefit those publications. But I think that it's very good as well, because the public, like I was saying before, don't always know what wine to choose, and I haven't been drowned out in the supermarket by the proliferation of commended labels, have you?
Well, no, I haven't, and I'm certainly not going to be a hypocrite here, because I've spent a lifetime in sales and marketing, and I'm fully appreciative and fully aware of the value that these sort of recommendations are doing for the wine industry. So I'm not going to knock it. No. My problem is how many there are. That's all.
Well, we could talk for much longer, especially about a subject like wine, but sadly the clock, as it always does, has beaten us, and sadly we have to leave it. So I hope you've enjoyed the show, and don't forget, if you'd like to get in touch with us, well, email us at talk@that'soxford.com or tweet us at that'soxfordtv. Until the next time, thank you for watching, and good night.